welcome to the newest episode of Borderline Podcast Disorder. I hope you're good. I'm good. I'm. I'm actually. It's been a busy day today. Um, yeah, I've had. It was the first day of recording new episodes. For since this year has started, and I've done 3 episodes today, and now I'm finishing up the editing for this. Um, and yeah, it's been a long day. It's been the longest day podcast wise in over a month. I've been gigging around this week, and it's been quite good actually. I've done a few shows, and I'm very happy with the way some of my work has been going. I've got some very good, if I say so, very good material that I'm really happy with. And hey, AJ Brown has just scored a touchdown. The Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. I'm happy. I'm very, very happy. And oh God, I love these boys so much. But yeah, no, I've been the comedy has been going good, and I'm still struggling a lot with some of stuff with my day job, which is not existent anymore, and I've got some issues to resolve with that financially. It's a tough time, but I want to say that I'm pretty proud of myself for like how I handle stuff because I'm trying to focus on the things that I can control. I'm working as hard as I can. I got some things happening and some interviews, and I'm yeah, I'm doing whatever I can, and but I'm being uh, I guess I've used radical acceptance a lot, uh, but I've also not become complacent. Um, yeah, I'm tired. I think last week I was really tired. I was coming back from a I guess I having like a depressive episode while I was away. I was in Romania visiting family, but before that, there were a few days during that trip when I was just struggling a lot. And although things got better, I feel like the sensation, the tiredness of, oh God, like what is this? How am I gonna go through this? It was very overwhelming, and I honestly didn't expect to. I don't know what I expected actually, but I I'm doing better than what I thought I would be doing if I were to see myself in this position a few months ago, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, and so on. And I'm very lucky because I think that my partner, she's very supportive, and we are working out through things together. And I'm looking at pickle and sarma now, drinking water. There is a huge problem in this household because they keep knocking the water fountain down almost every night. And I wake up in the morning and there is a big puddle. The living room stinks. It smells like damp. And I got quite annoyed with them a few times, but I love them. And actually on Friday we're going to they're gonna get what's the word, like the snip thing, but the version for like females, so they don't have babies. And I don't know what to expect then. I'm a bit scared because I yeah, I almost feel bad for doing it. Although I heard that it's a good thing, and I know that it would be good for them, so that then they're not in heat so much, and because obviously they're like indoor cats as well. And I think it's the best for everyone. But I don't know, part of me is just really sad that I don't know if how painful it's going to be, and I don't want it to be painful. And if it is painful, I'll feel terrible about myself. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to do my best, and basically on Friday I've got no plans um besides of taking them to the vet, and then in the evening I'm going to have dinner at the rabbi's house with a good friend of mine, and but then when I swap, when I go out to see my friend, my partner will be home by then, and she will be staying with the kitties, so we'll be around, you know. And then on Saturday I'm going to service, um, but then my partner's home and so on. You know, there will always be someone around. But yeah, let's see how things go. And you know, comedy wise, it's gone pretty well. You know, I've done a few very good shows this week. I've again, material wise, I'm very pleased with what I've wrote, and there are a couple of tryout shows that I'm doing for some very good promoters in the area, and a little bit outside of London. And although it's going to be expensive, you know, to like get to those places and stuff like that, um, I'm excited. I'm as excited as one can be, you know, to um, hopefully build a better future. But yeah, for now, I'm going to leave you with my episode with Nick, you know, and this has been, well, Nick's episode with me. It was such a good conversation. I really loved speaking with him. I feel like we ended up speaking on a few different occasions, and then every single time I talk to Nick, it's just such a pleasure. He seems like such an lovely. Well, he's such a lovely person, and I'm funny enough, gigging wise. I think in February I'm going to do his own the comedy night that he's organizing, which is in London. Um, but yeah, for that, make sure you check my social media and his social media, and there will be links there to the event. But for now, yeah, that's it. So look after yourselves and enjoy this wonderful episode that's coming up next. Perfect. So, Nick, how's it going?
That was a perfect time ding. Yeah, no, it's good. Uh, nice, beautiful day here in sunny London, and so that's such a big question. What do you mean? How's it going?
Like, I think for the beginning, I just meant as in like, how's it going, and more like, you are you okay today, like right now, rather than how's life been going.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that means I just answer. Yeah, good. Next question is that is that good podcast? Yeah,
uh yeah, you have to be
yeah,
as what's the word, as
real,
not
authentic,
real. You have to be as oh my god, I forgot the word. But I
succinct,
don't even think I know. Yeah, no, you have to be as like,
virtuous, noble,
no,
moral.
no, noble. You have to like basically make people wonder as much as possible.
Got you. Leave them guessing, wanting more. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Be like, yeah,
Mysterious,
how
kind of.
are you?
Yeah,
Good.
I'm
Okay.
fine. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you.
No, I have been busy though. I will say that, which I feel like everyone says, so it's not that interesting. But it has been like as the holidays come up, it's been just cat chasing its tail. I guess is that the phrase? It's burning the candle at both ends. It felt
Okay.
like that a lot lately, but it's good. I feel like I operate well on that type of thing. I'm a person that like I
But
don't.
then are you like planning to take some time off at the beginning of the year or
This is
anything like
I
this,
don't
or
plan. I
oh, okay,
never
it just
plan
happens.
anything. Like life for the most part happens and I just react to it. That's the that's the healthy way to do it, right?
Yeah.
I'm always in the present is what I'm saying. Is that no. God, I feel
Wow.
like I want to be so sarcastic too quickly.
That's fine. You
And
can.
you have such an earnest face.
A what?
Every an earnest faced
Translate.
Earnest face. Just like it's a even when I talk to you in life,
Yeah.
you have a face that's just like you're really listening. You're really intent to where like I feel like I'm trying to like I'll be like, "Oh, I want to be silly," but as I'm telling you the funny things to your sincere questions, I start then going, "This is a nice guy. Quit fucking with him. All right? Just answer his question."
It's funny you say that because I actually feel like sometimes it's a lie. I gotta be honest. Like, I feel like sometimes I've learned this trick where like you have to look at people when you ask them questions because it seems like you're interested. So even if I'm
Yeah.
not interested, I still well, although in this situation I am interested.
No, fair enough. I'm not. That's the problem. No, no. But also, you can't. It's not your. It's your face. Like you can't.
Yeah.
You can't make. You can look like I look at people when when they talk to me, but I don't know if I give them the same feeling that you give when you look at someone,
Y-
and that's just because of the genetic fat
Mm.
placement and bone placement and like lips and teeth and there's something about the shape of your actual face. Thank you, Levy's parents, for this.
Yes, whoever
Uh,
do you might be.
yeah, there you go. Wherever you are staring at people earnestly as well, we thank you for that.
Yeah, I that actually went very deep very quickly because I the reason why I said this like whatever they might be is because I don't know who my real dad is. Like, yeah, I
Ooh.
have like I've never met the
Yeah.
guy, and like my birth giver is a whole complicated situation where I don't speak with her, or we have nothing to like share,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of lucky that I look almost like nothing like her, so
Oh.
it's good, because like I wake up, I feel like I don't know sometimes when you look like someone that you don't necessarily, I wouldn't say I don't hate her, but
Yeah.
I don't like her, and I don't
Yeah.
I feel actually like nothing towards her. And I think it would be such a nightmare where you're in a rough, you're having a rough time with your parents, and you look in the mirror and you're like, shit, I look exactly like the guy, or like I look exactly like my mom.
Yeah.
But now because I don't, I'm kind of like, that's good.
Yeah. It's just one last thing to add to the pile of shit you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that way about Zac Efron because that's what people always say I look like. Which you're giving me that face. I don't think I do. I get Zach, and I know it's such a prick thing to say, but I'm making a joke right now that you're talking about.
No, that's
You
fine.
don't look like
Please.
your parents, and like it's good because you don't feel
Yeah.
close to them. Um, and I was wanting to make the joke that yeah, that's how I feel about Zach
Is
Efron.
Zac Efron your father?
Um, no, see, this is what I really wanted to ask, but I wanted to make the joke first. Uh, I've always because I didn't have the best parents. They were drug addicts. Dad wasn't in the life at all. Like the story was, my mom was pregnant driving down the road, and he punched her in the face and broke her jaw. And then that's when it was like, well, go away. But the crazy thing was is that my dad came back into my life in my early 20s. Um, and it was just this chaotic few years where I was like, "Oh, this is why you're not in my life." And I never felt anything for him, but I was like, I feel like had he never done that, life would have been better. Because now I get to go like, "Oh, now I feel like you came back to do more damage."
Yeah.
And so I'm like, as someone who never knew, what do you think is better? Like never knowing and it's just that feeling of like, well, you don't know what you don't know, or someone who has had the shitty experience with the parents, and then you're like, oh, I wonder where it would fall on who has it worse, because that's really what I'm getting at. It's a competition. Was my life worse
Okay.
than yours?
Um, I don't know. We can delve into that and find out
Yeah.
more. And yeah, I'll
Yeah.
get my clipboard and also like
You also have
no.
to. You're gonna have to be careful here because I'm an avid question asker, and I will dive back. This is your podcast talking to me, and I'm gonna end up probably turning a lot of things on you.
No,
So
that's
I hope
cool.
you're ready for it.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I'll come at you.
so far I'm enjoying this very
Yeah,
much.
good.
So to go back to your question, I feel like first of all, I'm very grateful that I was raised by two brilliant parents. As in like my so basically like my birth giver's mother and her second husband. Basically, like my grandparents from my birth giver, so my mom's side,
Yes.
are the ones who raised me and the ones who like adopted me,
Yeah.
and they've been wonderful. Now to answer your question about the dad thing, yeah, I don't really. I don't. Yeah, I don't care. Like, if anything, I'm actually. Yeah, I guess I'm glad that I didn't meet him, because now he's just kind of like, he could be like a superhero, or he could be, like I said, the biggest prick on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
There is no way of knowing. It's just me wondering. While now, because
Yeah.
of my birth giver and all the shitty situations that I've been through because of her, I actually resent her, or like I think even
Yeah.
the years where like now I got to the point where I'm kind of like I've just blocked her off my life.
Yeah.
But for many years I've resented her, and I was
Mhm.
like, she's like, again, I hated her, and I feel like, yeah, I would have been better off with like having nothing to
Nothing.
do with
Yeah.
her.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm one of these people. Red flag alert. I hate my mother. I hated my mother. Like I thought
Fair.
she was a terrible person. She. So I was also raised by my mother's parents, my
Hey.
grandparents. Yeah. My mom. We lived with my mom until I was about. This me by we I mean me and my older brother. She had my brother when she was 15, and then
No
had me at
way.
19 with like two different guys. And then we just kind of our childhood until I was about 8 or 9 was just kind of going wherever she could find a boyfriend that had money or a house to live in. And so like there were points where I mean we're technically homeless. We're like living in a motel, or we're living with like an aunt for a while. But then she would find a boyfriend, and like we lived in these old these this older lady in her mother's basement for a while, and like my mom and her boyfriend would just like take care of the property. And so yeah, you just kind of went wherever there was shelter. And eventually yeah, mom was just like, I'm gonna take you to your grandparents. And then she decided to keep chasing men that had money. She was a black widow, man. She would find one and just fucking drain their money off
No
of them.
way.
Yeah. That's fun for a further story. But yes, I brought it up that so both of my grandparents that have raised me, they've passed. And when my grandmother died, I went back. My mom's the youngest of 5 kids. I'm her
Right.
youngest.
Right.
So I'm the youngest of the youngest. And when I went back to deal with my grandmother's death, it was the oldest, my Aunt Deb, and me handling a lot of the stuff.
Right.
Um, to which I said to my mom, it's time for you to be the mom.
Mm.
All right. You need to step up and do some stuff.
Yeah.
And she just went, yeah, I don't want to do that. And I was like, you don't want to be my mom? And she was like, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm tired of this. And I was like, I'm going to hold you to that, by the way, because you've tried this before and you do this a lot. And she was like, fine, great. And that was it. And then I did not talk to her until she died during COVID. And so,
No way.
yeah, it was like one of the, it's, I mean, I'm going to sound like a pure sociopath, but I was about to do an improv show
Mm.
because I'm cool. But and my phone was ringing. My brother's calling me, my sister-in-law, uh, and so I answer. And finally, I'm like, "What is going on?" And my brother's like, "Hey, man, mom's dead." And I'm like, "Ah, what happened?" He's like, "I don't know." And so he told me the story of just how there were a bunch of cars at the house that she was staying at. They left, and then one of our cousins went by and just found her on the toilet, like she was dead. And my brother was like, "Yeah, by the time I got there, because he lived about an hour away, he's like, by the time I got there, they had taken her to the coroner already and done all that stuff." And the coroner came out and was like, "Do you want to know what happened?" And my brother was like, "Doesn't matter. She's dead." And I was like, "Ah." I was like, "Do I need to come home?" And he was like, "No, I've already cremated her." And I was like, "All right, see you later, man." Hung up, went and did an improv show immediately. But it was like one of those things where it's weird to say it, and I think a lot of people would hear this and be like, "Oh, that there, you need to resolve this thing in you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think I do. I think I'm fine. I think I'm fine going, that was a shitty person. And that shitty person's dead now. And that's fine. And life goes on. You know? I don't have to carry the weight around.
You know what? Yeah, I get it, because no, honestly, like I'm at the point where, like, this is the thing where now, for example, I lost actually like I lost my grandparents, and sadly I lost like my mom, because I'll
Yeah.
refer to her like I lost my mom around, not because not COVID related, but
Yeah.
also during the pandemic. And then I lost my dad way before, like 5 years before that, so like 7 8 years ago. But yeah, with my birth giver, I'm kind of like in a point where like I don't wish her well. No, I don't
Yeah.
wish her ill or well. I'm just, to me, she's kind of like dead already,
Yeah.
so whatever happens, like, and I also feel I'd rather not try and fake this relationship. And I feel like, yeah, there is a lot of romanticization of like, oh, your parents, and I'm like, well, again, technically the truth there applies there as well, that we can't pick your you can't pick your family.
Yeah.
And that goes not only to cousins, that goes to like parents as well. Like if you have an, again, especially when you're like in an abusive relationship, and I'm not talking about physical, mental, or like or any whatever kind of abuse. If you step out, you step out. There's nothing to resolve. I think it's, I guess, yeah. Again, my opinion is that it has to be addressed if you're like at the point where you do wish ill for someone.
Mm.
That has to
Yeah.
be, because again, like now it's actually you're causing harm on yourself because of that other person.
Yeah.
But as long as you're just like, hey, I just don't care,
Yeah.
that's
That's
fine, because
exactly. And that's what it is.
yeah,
Like
why would
that's
you
what it is.
force it?
I just didn't care. I just
Yeah,
was like, yeah, I don't care what happens to you, man. Like
yeah.
you're living your life, I'm living my life. I think the thing that fully exacerbated it was like becoming a father.
Mm.
And most people, they have that experience of like, I became a parent and it made me sympathize with my parents. My God, did it threw gasoline on the fire, man. The fire of hatred and rage like towards them, because I was just like, I look at my son. I have such a vivid memory. He was like maybe a month or two old, and like I'm staring at him like as I put him down in bed, and I'm like, I would burn the world down for you. Like I would like Levy right now, like beautiful man, like sweet. I would never want harm to you, but God forbid you got in the way of me and my son in any way, I would destroy you.
That's cute.
Like I would destroy you in a sec. The lengths I would, and I'm staring at this beautiful
Yeah,
infant,
yeah, yeah.
thinking the most horrible thoughts of just anger and rage, but going out of love. Like I
Yeah,
would do
yeah.
this out of love for this being,
Yeah.
because ugh. And then it's instantly followed by like my fucking parents
Yeah.
literally couldn't even stop doing fucking meth or painkillers or whatever the shit it was they wanted to get into, because they were too fucking. And everyone's like, oh, it's addiction, it's issues. Yeah, we all have to deal with our shit. All right. I feel like I'm going to come at such a different angle than probably most people you talk to about healing
No?
and therapy and stuff. But I think there are some things where I'm just like, man, I deal with the addiction issues. I have the depression she had. Like, I have all of these things that were passed on from her, and I chose to do something about it. And that's like, it just fueled such a fire in me. And I was just like, fuck you. You fuck it. No, I can't go that far. But yeah. And like like now, like there, sorry, I'm becoming aware as I talk. I'm like, I'm listening to this podcast as I'm talking in it, and the person being like, this guy fucking needs some help. But no, like it's weird to feel, but I have peace about that, you know? Like I don't feel turbulent inside, feeling like it's something is broken that needs to be fixed. I'm like, this is the thing that happened, and that's what it is. And now you move on. I also get a little bit of weird pride around having wild stories like this, because I'm a storyteller. I like hearing things that are like I've never heard before,
Yeah.
and I think there's been a weird ego built up over time, around being able to be like, yeah, I get to be a little different, than most people, well, a lot different than most people that I talk to. If I ever just, I'm like, pick a year of my life, and I will tell you some things that you're like, are you, are you sure you're from the planet Earth? Like you're an alien, right? I actually had that thought coming in this morning. I was like, I should probably just start contexting my comedy around. By the way, I'm an alien. I don't relate to you guys at all. I don't understand a lot of you. You're not going to understand me. Let's just leave that as the context. And then I'm going to tell you about the time when I'm walking home one night and I get a text message and it's my mother sexting me, like sending me pictures of her naked body. And you're like, Yeah. See, your eyes just lit up right there.
Shut up.
Yeah. And so
What
it's
the
like,
fuck?
but those to me, those are things that I'm like, oh, but you tell people and they're like, oh, what? Like there's such a different response to all of these
Yeah.
things. Um, and so yeah, it's such an interesting
It, well, there are some things I want to ask you on the back of what you said earlier, but the first thing I want to say is that it's funny you say that you think that, oh, you're like an alien and it's like this stuff is unrelatable, while every time I've listened to you doing stand up, I actually find it wildly relatable. So it's funny that
yeah.
you're looking in such a perspective where you're like, hey, nobody gets me, but actually I think that's what.
That's because I'm crafting it so that people can relate to some things.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I have to craft a lot of it to try and make bridges because that's my biggest struggle in comedy is trying to bring people along because if I don't, they're lost very quickly. They're like, I don't know what this is. I have no experience with it. And the thing is, I'm
Right.
also very aware that probably a lot of people listening to this are like, yeah, my life's fucking crazy too, man. I get it. And I'm like, good. Like, I'm here for you. Like, that's great. Uh, in the comedy circles that you're in London, especially London, a very, you know, affluent city of people. A lot of people that have moved here on the back of privilege in some way and stuff. And so they just haven't had these life experiences. So that's who I'm around a lot. Like at my company, nobody has come anywhere near anything that like I've experienced in 1 year of life, let alone my entire life.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it does feel very foreign, but I'm not too dumb to be like, I'm special. I no one's had I have a brother. I have a brother who went through all of this stuff and his own things as well. And so yeah, just for I'm speaking of to my experience of the people I interact with, it is few and far in between of people that actually come up to me and go, there's a look in the eye that you're like, I get it. And you're like, yeah, okay.
This is, you know what, I sometimes I feel like when I tell people about, like, I don't know, stuff like it's either happened to me as a child or growing up or like the reason why I came here, whatever, and then they look at me as if like I'm lying, and I'm like,
Mm,
I'm that's true.
yeah.
Like what I'm telling you right now, it actually happened, and yeah, I kind of I get it. What I
Yeah.
think, especially when you said about like the work stuff, you know, when you like go into the day job, and you know you again you have these people who are, and I feel like, oh, that's one of the things I'm actually going to ask you is because I do find it a lot where, again, without being a parent, I always feel like I want to be a parent and I want to do the best I
Hey
can.
man, you can be a parent.
I
Anyone can
will
be a
be
parent.
okay. I'm looking forward to the day when I
Believe in
will
yourself.
become a
Yeah.
parent. But what I was going to say is that I do sometimes find myself being like low key like jealous at other people. Like, you know, when people say, for example, are like, oh yeah, I'm going for, and it's not to say because I am also not one of these people who are like, hey, cancel Mother's Day because like Mother's Day is a terrible time for people who don't have
Yeah.
moms. I'm like, no, have Mother's Day. It's a beautiful thing. It's just that I personally, like, you know, when someone goes like, oh yeah, I'm seeing my parents for Christmas, I'm like, oh fuck, you know.
Yeah, dude,
If
I get that fully. Like that's one of the biggest I think things that has struck me over the past probably since I've been in London. I don't know what it is about London or being here. Like I was in Brooklyn for 8 years and it never really was a big deal. But maybe I don't know, maybe it was becoming apparent that like I'm so conscious of like how involved everyone's families are in their
Mm,
lives. Like it's been so strange. Like you're saying, Mother's Day comes around, and it's like, oh, my son, like me and his mother aren't together anymore, but like we have a good relationship, and like I'll help him get things for her and things like that, and she'll do the same for Father's Day. But with on that side, they also get something for Grandma, and like they get to do that and have that experience, and
yeah,
like I love it, but like I feel that loss of like he will get none of that from my side. He doesn't have
yeah,
grandparents. He has two cousins that live in the States, and like bless him to death. I love him to death, but they're 21 and 18 years old. Like he's six. Like they're he's not
yeah,
gonna have that cousin experience. And but yeah, I do feel that loss that like you're talking. But it's not to the point that I will be a Scrooge. Like
yeah.
I'm not gonna be like bah humbug on your like you're saying your Mother's Day or Father's Day or like on Christmas morning and things like that, where it's just like everyone's families are coming over and so I completely. I see what
Yeah,
you're
because
saying.
I think like when I look a bit now with when I speak with like my partner and we're like chatting about even like wedding plans or even again like even holidays because like we are um seeing her parents soon and like staying with them because we had like a birth in a family
Mhm.
but that's the thing like on her like that's like kind of like I feel like oh that's your family and then she's like no it's like it's your family as well
Yeah.
and I'm like okay that's nice but also in my head I'm like that's your but then I'm kind of like what am I bringing to the table because like again
Mhm.
like I don't because this is the thing for example when we got this place you're like okay you like speak with your parents or like you get some help with or like housewarming gifts. I didn't have any like freaking housewarming gifts because I have like my parents are long gone now,
Yeah.
and I kind of felt like, oh shit, I almost felt like, oh, I need to bring something to the table.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Like
Okay, yeah,
I'm seeing someone now, and like she's got a brother, and like he's got a partner, and she's got a mom and a step. They're like this whole family, like dynamic, and aunts and uncles and cousins and all of that. And if you're looking at like the family tree of this, it's like half a tree and then like a twig of me, you know?
yeah,
And I'm just like, it's because the sun hasn't been shining on that side of the tree. And so yeah, I get it, man. It's like it's weird that like there's a value to it as well. Like you almost feel less like for me, like
yeah,
I'm just like I feel a loss for that.
yeah,
And like that's where it does hurt. And that's where it is like I mean, you feel less of it. Like that's not my control. Like I didn't choose to not have extended family.
yeah.
And so yeah. Isn't this fun?
It's yeah, it is. Yeah. And because you were talking about how you had this thing about like how like okay or like some people which again I very much and it's funny that you brought it up because I very much agree with you. There is this thing of like oh but you gotta like addiction. I am a recovering or like I'm a sober person now, but I've struggled with addiction myself. I guess again there are extents to it,
Yeah.
absolutely, but then like you said, ultimately it it's easy for people from the outside to be like hey give a second chance but then you're like I think to me as well and when I think about like my burger I'm like yeah but like how many second chances can one give because at one point you're like again like because now say if there are like two lovers in a
Yeah.
relationship,
Two lovers, two
two
loaves of bread.
lovers
Yeah.
but there are two lovers in a obviously in a relationship and then one of them is like toxic and mistreating the other one, you wouldn't tell the other one hey keep trying keep
Yeah.
going.
Maybe you'll change them one
Yeah
day.
maybe
Yeah.
and I'm like but then you people are saying that again as outsiders on yeah but like parents are parents. I'm like yeah exactly parents are parents like
Yeah.
obviously again you I feel like uh, it's a two-way street. Or in one hand, obviously you have I guess some sort of uh, what's it called like you have some things to offer to them, but ultimately they have things to offer to, and especially obviously at the early point in life it's a very one-sided story. You can't ask a toddler to like do stuff, and you can't even like ask a young person to be as mature as the parent.
That was part of that moment that I was staring at my son and having these like rage
Yeah.
thoughts is that I was thinking he's done nothing. He literally exists.
Sorry, that's
Yeah,
yeah,
he's done nothing to earn this. Whereas, like, my whole childhood was built around showing my usefulness so that people, like, because I felt like then I was allowed to be around
yeah,
if I
wow,
was useful or good at things.
yeah,
And he doesn't have to do any of it, And I was just like, that's the beauty of what this should be, is that, like, yes, he just exists. The kid didn't even do anything. He actually tried to make the birth very difficult. Like he didn't even help there. Like he just is a fucking drain. As a he's like a
yeah,
leech.
yeah,
God, I love that leech. Oh my gosh. And it was just like, it's funny you were speaking about like the parent thing and like you wouldn't say it to a lover. It's funny you went to that analogy because I think a lot of people have kind of a separate idea around family relationships and relationships you create
yeah,
and make. And for a lot of people, including yourself and like myself, like when you do have that broken schism at the beginning, you're kind of raised now like in this idea of I create the family. I'm the one that like the idea of like I like you're my mom, so that should mean something, is gone. Like it's just like you're my mom if you choose to be my mom, and I choose to be your son. Just says you'll be my boyfriend as I choose to be your boyfriend type thing. Like, and that's how all the relationships are. And like that's such a different mindset for a lot of people because they're just like, well, yeah, it's my mom, or it's my brother, that type
Yeah.
stuff. But all of my familial relationships, we've had schism points where it was like I didn't talk to my brother properly for a few years, and like there was issues there and stuff. And he was my most consistent. I mean, things are good now, so, but like he was the most consistent plot of my life. It was always us two wherever we were, and even that
Oh,
went away for a while.
yeah.
And so, yeah, it's such a interesting dynamic, like when you're meeting people almost to where you're just like what kind of person are you? A person that's had to make every relationship, or are you a person who at least has had a foundation of like security? And I think those people do operate in certain ways. I'm literally just coming to this idea right now as we're talking, so I'm not fully fleshed it out. But give me another 30 seconds, and I'll give you a full theory, because I can talk bullshit like the best of them. But yeah, no, I don't know where I'm going with this, so I'm just gonna keep
No, it's okay.
yeah.
I'll
No, yeah.
yeah. Um, I was just like I was genuinely like drawn into what you're saying because it sounds fascinating.
Oh, sorry to cut you
Go
off.
on.
That's why I was bringing it up. I was bringing it up because of the idea of the second chance, that the people are so accustomed to TV stories of this stuff where it's like they just give them a second chance, give them a second chance type stuff. But you haven't seen the 20
Yeah.
times that like you get a like a at the time it was an answering machine message, but like you get the voicemail, you get the call from the mom being like, I fucking suck, I'm the worst mom in the world, oh my god, you guys just hate me. And you got to go over and be like, we don't hate you, you're not a bad mom, you're okay, like you'll be fine, you'll get through this. And then she's good for like a couple weeks or a month, and then something kicks her off again, and then she's just like, I can't do this, you don't want to be around me, everybody hates me. And then it's just this cycle over and over, and all the while going, I'm 12, lady. Like
Oh my
I'm
god.
12. All right. I get it. You're only like, oh, that would have put her at like 32 at that. Like my mom was a grandmother when she was 35.
Huh.
Which I'm 36 now and I have a 6-year-old. But yeah, it's just like those dynamics of like over time that you're just like, yeah, all right. I think you've gotten your second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh and eighth. And I'm someone who's all about grace and mercy. Like I'm
Yeah.
someone like my favorite movies are when you see the bad guy and the protagonist like have these like moments of redemption where like there's love instead of like hate being used. Like
Yeah.
I am ruined in those movies where you just see people choose the option of love. I love those moments more than anything. But for some reason, when it comes to family, I'm just well, put it this way: when it comes to my family that I had, I just have no time for it.
The thing is, it's I get it because I agree with you. I love a feel good story in general.
Yeah,
um but I also feel like, especially like I think in every single circumstance now, that's like whether it's politics, whether it's again relationships, whether it's again whatever it might be, I also, and I know maybe I'm a bit too far on the other side, but again in real life I'm also like, yeah, but those are fantasies, like for example when we were talking about before the before we started recording, but we were like talking about the like middle class, like what it means in America versus what it means in the UK. And he's like, you kind of like, yeah, make the middle class like more level and everyone would be like more equal. I understand that side of like say social or like socialism or like left
yeah,
democratic views, right? But then ultimately this is, it's very unrealistic. Like if you think, and again, is the reason why I mentioned this because I thought it's a good analogy to use in yeah, like family relationships or love, like I was going to say sexual relationship, but like romantic relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the word. In
I don't know if we
romantic
get
in romantic
sexual
relationships,
romance. Same thing to you, my friend.
in romantic relationships where, or like again, anything, literally anything in life where, yeah, like there is a version of it which looks like very nice and pretty, and everyone's hugging each other, and everyone's like, "Hey, I love you," and it's like, "Oh, I love you back," and it's a beautiful story, but the reality, or like the way it works, it's not like that, and
Yeah.
it's harsh. And again, I agree with you to the extent where I would like to the extent I agree with you about how, and I no I agree, but I share the love for a feel, for a feel good ending,
Yeah.
and you're like, hey, yeah, like he's a bad, he's like is the, or like he she they are the bad person in this,
Yeah.
but yet they see the love in each other, like they see the one thing that connects them, beautiful. But then in real life, you're kind of like, I at least know you, but I am at the point where like
Yeah.
it's so unrealistic, like you can't, I don't know, I can't go again, like how many you give like 9 second chances, that's a bit
Yeah.
silly. Like in real life, again, that's actually like, I personally think it's self-abusing, because now you're
Yeah.
only harming yourself more.
Mhm.
For what?
Whew. I mean, you've said a lot of stuff there, my guy. Uh, no, I do agree. It does get to a point where, see, this is where I'm gonna probably contradict myself now,
That's
because
absolutely
that's
fine.
what we
Again,
are.
yeah,
But no, like I do think that we may have gone too far on that spectrum of like, uh, I got to do things that take care of me
yeah.
before the put your mask on before you put others' mask on the plane mentality. Like when the oxygen mask on a plane,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
they
yeah,
always
yeah.
say put yours on first before you put
Before you
someone
do,
else's
yeah,
on. And I think that mentality has gone a little too far to where it's just like now we're getting too it's all about me. That if anyone causes any inconvenience into my life, you're toxic, you're a danger, you're an issue.
yeah,
Um, but I do agree, yeah, if there is a person that is doing nothing but taking and taking and taking and taking from you, then yes, it is the healthiest thing
yeah,
to be like, well, you just don't have to be a mother. See, that's the thing that
yeah,
for me, I can say that, or I like for a lot of people, if I said to them, like, your mother doesn't have to be your mother anymore, right? That would be so foreign to them.
yeah.
But to me, I'm like, but
Huh.
what does that even mean? She pushed you out of her vagina. And now that means there's a bond that has to be there forever. Like if we're speaking literally, I'm going on a tangent that I didn't even want to go down. Really what bothered me is that I didn't have a good movie example for that. I've been sitting here
Did you
going
think of
like,
something?
no, I've been sitting here going like, oh, I know there's one I've watched, but why can't I think of one while you're saying very insightful things and I'm trying to like stay present as you're saying these things.
Delivery man,
Huh? Delivery
Vince
man.
Vaughn.
So all 800
Joking.
kids accept him as father and it's a beautiful ending. Uh
In
no,
that like hospital, like nursing room or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
I was just joking.
I know
I
you
just
would.
thought of you.
I mean I could make it work. No, I wanted to make the joke when you were talking about like it's it's just impossible. Like there are people out there that like are just gonna take and like it's just not that beautiful. And I was like, let me tell you about Jesus Christ. All right, because that man took the sins of everyone on his back. He died and he rose again, defeating death. But no, it is funny you say that about like the socialists and like the idea of like we all come together and love each other. I'm such a I mean most of what I'm gonna say today is gonna probably be bullshit, but uh I can just I don't know why I have the gift that you can take any opinion, any idea, any topic, and I can riff with anyone on anything. I will make an opinion in that moment, and I can make it sound like it's got supports and all that. I just have this ability, which means I also have ideas that would fix the world. You can ask me about any social situation, give me 10 minutes, and I probably could come up with some feasible sounding idea. And it just struck me this year that I was like, no matter how perfect your idea is, no matter how perfect anybody's idea is, the world is full of idiots and assholes like me. Like no matter how good an idea is, we're still surrounded by a bunch of idiots and assholes, which I'm one of them. I'm a selfish idiot asshole that like the second anything minorly inconveniences me, I'm looking for a way to loophole it or skirt around it or find a way to make it work for me. And when the world is full of that, there is no perfect ideology that will fix anything, because there's always going to be someone that's just like, well, I don't want to do that. And you're like, but you're an asshole. And they're like, okay, I'm an asshole. What does that mean? Um, so yeah, that's my view on the world. So things will never get better. Um,
Thank you for
yeah,
listening.
thanks for listening, guys. Enjoy your Christmas. Amazon's Black Friday deal is still on now. Use the / BPD to get 20% off anything on Amazon.
Fingers crossed. We're not sponsored yet, but
Okay.
you know what? I feel like when sorry, that's like off track. So
No, go off
oh,
track. I don't mind.
I was gonna say that with the Amazon thing, when because I go sometimes for like the sponsorships here, and or like through sponsorship options, and like obviously the biggest revenue, like the biggest or like the biggest basically opportunity that you have is with like large companies. And then in one hand, I'm like, the person inside of me is like, hey, but those are bad companies. But then I'm also like, but if they will offer, I will say yes, because I'd rather them give me their bad money and I turn it into good money.
Yeah.
So again, I agree with like the no, I agree with. I don't think we were even like talking about this topic, but I feel like it's funny how like the moral compass changes. And I think you were saying earlier about like, oh, I'm going to contradict myself. I feel like that's fine. Like that's absolutely, because I also agree with you where obviously you can't, or like it's not fair, and I always treat it on a case basis when I like think about people, or I think about I want to say problems, but like situations where I'm like, hey, like what's right, or like what do I feel like it's right or wrong for me in this case. However, I do feel like when you look around in the society, it's almost like a label has to be applied always and never change. Like if you're, like you said, like you go from having a mother that like didn't, look after you, or with regardless of how many chances you gave, and then you're like, hey, okay, that's a toxic relationship. I'm done with it. And then you go to like, oh, this person didn't message me this morning. Okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's too far.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I personally treat it in such a way where I'm like, okay, well, what is it specifically about this that bothers me? How important is it?
Yeah.
And now coming back to the monetization thing again, I hate large companies unless they are looking to sponsor this podcast. In which case,
Out there, Emma mattresses. What are some other good ones? BetterHelp.com
better
for
help.
U.S. audiences only. But
Anyway, if you want to expand in the UK, I'm your guy.
I mean, I did I'm talking about like just taking money, because you're like, yeah, it's better in my hands than their hand. Like, because I do acting in commercials and things as well. I did a commercial that flew me to Uruguay 2 weeks ago, for 4 days. Um, it's a foundation that is solely funded by a pharmaceutical company in the States, which everyone I say that to does what you're doing now. They're kind of like, okay, what is this about? But it's just like, I'll take your money though. I will take your money.
Yeah,
And so I feel like all of my gosh, I was such a crusader for like fixing the world when I was younger. Like I
yeah.
was evangelical Protestant Southern Baptist. Like I was going to take Jesus to the ends of the earth and all of this. It's a whole nother story we can get into.
No, but sorry, go
But
on.
yeah, and then like I've just slowly had that white savior mentality just beaten out of me in life, to where now I'm just like, I don't want to tell anyone what to do ever. I don't care. Like I don't like, I'm just like, I teach my son to be kind, to listen well, and to have fun. And he's created, when times are tough, we be tough. And so I'm like, great, we'll do that one too.
Very
But I'm
nice.
like, that's it. Like that's, if you're not doing one of those three things, you will get some grief from me. But other than that, I don't care what your political opinions are. I don't care like what you think about things, because you're just choosing that life for yourself. All right.
Yeah.
And the way the world is now is that I don't know anyone that has gone a complete switch in their life by a conversation with someone.
That's true. That's so true.
Like, I don't know anyone that's been like, black people, man, they just do. And somebody's like, did you actually see this study on black people? And then that person's like, you're right, man. Black people are not. Like, it's never worked. It's never worked.
Yeah, that's
And it
true.
just blows my mind that like we're just continuing these same practices. I do laugh because I do like to joke that like I fell into religion at a very young age, like not forced in any. I had like probably the best religious experience of anyone I've ever met, um, and was very grateful for that. Like my youth ministry I was a part of, my youth pastor is one of the greatest people on the planet. Like I love him to death. Could not say anything bad about him. The way he taught me to think about life and to approach things, so grateful for all of those things. And but yet like I spent so much of my time as a young like teenager into my 20s like trying to any conversation I had to be like how do I bring up Jesus so that I can see if this person believes in Jesus as their Lord and Savior, and then I can get them saved so they can go to heaven. And like that was so much of my conversation, just like how do I steer this conversation to Jesus so that this person now believes the thing that I believe and we can all believe the same thing. And it's been funny watching the left start to adopt the old principles of the like conservative right, which is like if you don't agree with me, I'm going to stand outside and boycott you. Cuz that was conservatives back in the day. Like when Kiss would come to town, there would be moms against Kiss protesting Kiss and be like, they're evil, they're wicked. And now the left is like doing the exact same thing. They're saying, all right, well, you're evil, you're wicked. And a lot of times they are evil and wicked. So it's right to protest. But the cancel culture thing, like that was what conservatives would do. They're like, well, I just won't listen to that. I won't buy that. I'm not going to send my kids to that. We're not going to wear that. And it's like now the left is just doing the same thing. And I'm like, did you see how that didn't work for these other people? Well, yeah, now you're doing it and it's not working either because all it's doing is making people more polarized. Because whenever you go to someone and say, I disagree with you, and for that, I hate you, you're an idiot, like you're a fool, do you think that person's going to want to give you a hug and say, you're right? I want to believe what you believe? No, they're going to go find other people that believe the same dumb shit that they believe, and they're going to all be friends and believe it even harder. And I'm just like, guys, how do we not see this? Like, how is it not that obvious?
This is super like interesting that you saying it now because I had a debate with someone a couple of nights ago with a friend, a comedy friend, and I think I kind of like came to this conclusion, which actually came a long time ago, but I kind of like phrased it this way, which I was dying to share now. I was like, oh my God, it's funny you brought it up. It's almost
Yeah.
like talking about Jesus. I was like,
Yeah.
how are we swaying that way? But basically, my theory was that I feel people now are feeling like debates are about like winning people over, while
Mhm.
actually, I think debates are just about solidifying your point, if anything, to you. Because but this is the problem where like the problem, yeah, the problem. Like, I think that really annoys me now because I'd like I'm a person. I love debating and I love like sharing my thoughts. 'Cause I think personally I have the best
Opinions and thoughts out
opinions.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I stand by them, but I by no means it means that I want to like convert you into believing what I believe in.
Yeah.
Is I feel like when I'm debating with someone, like if I'm debating with you now, I'm debating to show you like why I believe I'm right, not that I believe you should believe
Yeah.
in what I believe in.
Yeah.
But once the debate ends and then you're still like, hey, I'm not interested, and I'm also not interested, and that's fine. That's how it should work, rather than, like this is where people do my head in, where it gets to the point where like, no, but you gotta change sides. And like, I absolutely, if anything, like you said, the more you're like forcing it like down my throat,
Yeah.
the more you're making me go further away from it.
Yeah.
And almost to the extent where I'm like, am I doing this on purpose just to piss you off? And the answer is probably yes.
Yeah.
But that's your fault now
Yeah.
because I tried.
No, I mean, you're a good person.
God
I'm just
bless
gonna
you.
say that. Amen, brother. But no, I completely like. It's so funny to me the whole debate because I'll argue the sky is blue. Like I'm just, but I do it because I think that just makes for better conversation. Like, there's nothing more boring than sitting around a table and listening to people all go like, "Wasn't this great? Yeah, it was great. That was really great. Wasn't this great? Oh, it was so good. Did you see this? I did see that. It was great. Wasn't it great?" And the thing is, I think it's great too. And I'll be like, maybe it's less great. And then everyone's like, "What?" But then now there's energy in the conversation. And it's like, it's how it gets me into a lot of trouble, a lot, because I will just take the strongest opinions on this shit, the dumbest shit that I don't care about. And like, I have to put that preface out. Anyone that's listening to this that knows me, I try to tell you in the conversation that I'm doing it, but I don't care. The thing that we're really heated about right now, I'm going to forget about it in 10 minutes. I'm not going to think about it again.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just doing this for fun now. Um, why did I really bring that up though? There was something in what you were saying that I was like, yeah, that was really insightful, and I've just completely lost it. But it'll
What was
come
it about
back to
the
me.
debate thing where it's like, it's more for me than it is for you?
Like, yeah, I like that. It's like, yeah, it's more the idea of like not wanting to change the person. It's just a joke about. I think it's stupid that people have to say, in my opinion. I think that it's so dumb that we've seen that as a term of politeness.
Yeah.
I see it as a term of ignorance, because I'm just like, in your no shit. Everything's in your opinion.
Opinion.
Everything that comes out of your dumb mouth is your opinion. You're not God. Like, you're not the all-knowing being that knows the absolute truth. I'm sounding very Christian right now. I don't go to church. I don't go to church anymore or anything. But you ain't Jesus Christ, son. All right, you don't know the truth. And so 1 Timothy 3:16, for all God's I'm sorry, I was gonna start quoting scripture at you. I have a degree in this thing, but I don't believe it anymore. Fully. I believe some of it, but not all of it. But no, yeah, that's what I'm saying is like, why do we have to preface this? That like people have to be like, well, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I get it, it's politeness, but like, it's so funny to me that people, because I don't like to say that. And people are like, wow, you just like really dig in on issues and things. And they're like, you just don't seem to have room for anything. And they're like, it would help if you just said, well, I think, or in my opinion. And I'm like, you need that?
It's a given.
Yeah, it should be a given. It's
Yeah.
understood. Jokingly, when I hear people say it in my head, I go, "You're not better than me." I feel like people do it because they think they're smart and smarmy, and like, look how like inclusive I am by saying, in my opinion, I'm saying, "Hey guys, don't take what I'm saying too seriously." But also, it's something I really believe in, and if you disagree with me, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. So it's like, is it your opinion, or do you think it's your absolute truth that you live by? And so these are the type of rants I have. It means nothing in the world. But yeah, if you say in your opinion around me, just know I'm judging you in my head, because I'm just like, no shit.
Which is fair again, because I also I think I see it sometimes, when you were talking about like left and right, for example. I was thinking about how it gets to the point where it's almost like we want to hear your opinion. Or like I feel like obviously in groups such as like sometimes in comedy or like even in friendships, and any social relationships where people are like, oh, we want to be inclusive of everybody and we want to hear everybody, but only if it's similar to what I'm saying,
Yeah.
or on the same page.
Yeah.
But then if it's not, then you gotta go. And I'm like, well, that you're like kind of contradicting yourself now. And I that's what I'm especially like now, or like in the last year or so, I'm very much like, hey, but do you see the
Yeah.
contradiction in your own statement? Because at least I just say that, just be like, hey, look, we actually like like I see these posters around London, which, by the way, this is not a politics podcast, but it is genuinely what came in my mind. Is like those banners were like, "Hey, are you a communist?
Yeah.
We are gathering there." And I'm like, at least they say, "Hey, look, we are communists. If you're a communist, come.
Yeah.
If you're not, don't come." And I'd rather have
Yeah.
this like people with this banner where, rather than being like, "Hey, I want to hear you out," and then when you start talking, they're like, "That's not."
What I think.
That's not what I think,
Yeah.
and
But
hence
the thing is, you still got to get up and go to work with Bill. Like,
Yeah.
you still have to work with Bill at the office. Bill's a communist in his own time and like wants to have a really funny view on the world. But the thing is, we can all have our ideas, but we still have to get up and work together.
Yeah, I
You
think
still got to get up and go out and actually experience life. And that's where I'm like, if the friction comes in there when I have to be next to you on the bus And if you're yelling in my ear, then I'm like, all right, we're going to have words about this. But if we're just both sat quietly on the bus going somewhere, like I can exist around you. Like it's not going to
Yeah,
kill me.
exactly.
Now it's funny, like just to bring this somewhat back to I guess family and life. I don't know if this is for you, but having the like lack of like a I guess a nuclear family is what they would say in the States. The idea of the mom and the dad, or the two parents, or
Okay.
the parent properly, and like that kind of consistent throughout your life. Like that's the first foundation in life that we all get. That's the first foundation that we start to build our identity and like who we are and like what the world is, the structure. For a lot of people, speaking for myself here, not anyone else, in my opinion, um, uh,
I'm judging you.
when that's
Continue.
not there, oh, I feel it too. But your face is still so kind and inviting. Um, but when that's gone, that means the structure for life is gone. And therefore, whenever I'm approached with any type of like, this is how things are, I'm instantly going, but it doesn't have to be. It's not how it is, it's how we've decided it will be. So I took that, like not having that structure, then I compounded it on that with this very fervent religious kind of like life where I truly believed I knew the absolute truth at like 13 years old, and that like it was God's will for me to go out and share this truth. I knew the answers to life. I knew everything. Like I literally had an answer for anything you would ask me. I could use the Bible in some way and give you an answer. So now I went from like having this no foundation to this one that was just, there was no gray place for me at the time. It was black and white. It was this or that. And then when I left the faith, now I went from absolute knowing like God of the universe, all of these things and these structures. Now that's been toppled. So now I'm like doubled on top of just like, guys, we're all just figuring this thing out. Like nobody has the answer to anything. Like we don't know what the end product is going to be. There's also no deadline. Like there is no time stamp. Like there's no thing that we're all working towards that we have to get to and then we'll all be graded at the end of it as a civilization, as a thing. And it's just like, it is so hard living in a world that wants to label everything and structure everything and say you have to be this way and do things in this way, when all I see is like, no, you don't. Like, it doesn't have to be. And all you got to do is rewind 2 years, a year, and things would have been a little different. And we've restructured. And the fact that people can't see that, that all of these foundations and structures that we've put in place are just things we've put in place. And I think when you realize that, you really lose the weight and the pressure of those things. And I think it really would allow people to be more understanding. It would allow people to be more gracious in their conversations. It would allow people to have just more time and patience. And I'm like, it's it's frustrating, but it also is something that I'm grateful for. That I can be like, all right, I can sit and listen to you spout nonsense and just be like, yeah, man, that's crazy. And then I can go and listen to someone else spout nonsense and be like, yeah, that's crazy. Like I don't feel my identity. I don't feel encroached upon. I don't feel attacked in any way. Um, but yeah, it's why I don't know for you in looking at life and stuff coming from like the upbringing you had. How do you deal with like the structures of life and the ordering of society?
You know what? I think I will then basically I'm going to answer, but then I want you to answer something else to me. But basically, it's wild because I or like it was wild at the time because I also like grew up in a very I want to say conservative, but not in the sense of like the political party in the UK. Just like again, like a conservative family is in like tradition, like conservative neighborhood. Everyone, like you said, it's very black and white.
Yeah.
Um, I grew up in a Orthodox Christian community, and so again, I kind of like again, I went to like a school that was a very good school, but they were very like art Christian Orthodox. The neighbors were like that. It's a very judgmental community and a
Mm,
very judgmental like group of individuals.
yeah.
But then it also gave me this sense of like there is no gray, there is only black and white.
Yeah.
And then I kind of I think when I like when everything went to shit when I was around like I think when my parents started like breaking up and the things got a bit worse. I was like 13, I think, at home. But then at 17, when I came in here, that was like the pinnacle. When I came to England, and I thought I knew everything. I thought that I had all the answers because I was like, what do you call it? A good, like I had very good grades. I was very good at school. Like
Yeah.
again, like I've read a lot when I was a kid, and I've also been told that I know a lot.
Hmm.
So that ego was like,
Yeah.
um, it was being well fed.
Yeah.
I personally say for the right reasons because again I did
Yeah.
try my best to educate myself, but then I
Yeah.
came to England and I kind of went like whoa. So I think the this like awakening that you're talking about, like when you left the church, to me actually happened when I changed countries
Yeah.
because the culture is so different, and then you learn. I've learned all these things, and it was like you said, it's only black and white, black or white. Now it's gray, and then yeah, I got to the point where I think for a while I went on to be like, I hate the upbringing. I hate the fact that I grew up
Mm,
thinking that I
yeah.
was the smartest. Because now, I went kind of I went to this thing where I would go in a room, and again, I'm exaggerating. It's not necessarily a room, but
And again,
I'm
I'm
just saying that.
lying, but I'm gonna tell.
Sorry,
Sorry. And again, I'm lying right now, but I'm gonna tell the story. No,
but
sorry, that's what I heard
again,
when you said I'm exaggerating.
I'll wrap it as in like
Yeah.
an analogy sort of way.
Yeah.
But like I'd walk into a room thinking that I am the smartest person in the room
Yeah.
from the get go because I got the answers, all the answers.
Mhm.
But now I have to step in the rooms thinking that I'm the dumbest person in the room because I've wasted all this time believing
Mm,
that I know the answers, and now I don't know the freaking answers, but I still want to talk. I still want to like have an opinion. I still
yeah.
want to voice that opinion, but then I'm like, oh shit, like what is true and what isn't.
Mm,
So yeah, for a couple of years I've been super again I've been kind of like I was holding a lot of grudges
mm,
on again like the society that I was raised in. I went to a point where I was like, hey, I don't even like I'm not like I'm not a proud Romanian. I'm not a proud I'm not proud of where I came from. Although now I got to the point where I know I am proud because
mm,
it did in many ways it shaped me very well.
yeah.
I am again like I am the result of my situations
Yeah.
combined, and I'm proud of that. And again I love my country. I love my people. I love everything, everything, some
Yeah.
things, but I also don't I dislike some very much. And I think yeah, like after I had this period where I was like, I am the best to what the fuck is right, like what's right, what's wrong, what do I know, to now where I got to the point where you know I again I still have opinions.
Mhm.
I still I usually stand by my opinions because I'd like to think, and the way I see it is that they are very well put together. But again, if I'm being shown that I'm wrong in one perspective, it doesn't make me change, like my whole belief about everything. Like I can still be like, okay, I see why actually you were
Yeah.
right about what you said in this particular thing, but in the grand scheme of things, I still believe in what I believe in, and I'm not going to like question myself as much. So
Yeah.
I think that's what I got now, where I'm kind of like at the point where you know what, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It is what it is. I think everyone is wrong an extent, to one extent or another. I feel like if people would accept the fact that they might be wrong from the get go, you would actually help out the conversations a lot because you.
Yeah.
And also, again, if you ultimately people would see it as a given that when I talk to you, it's my opinion versus your opinion. And
Yeah.
then if I see that and you see that, then you're like, okay, fine, but then it's not your whole existence.
Yeah.
That's the
Well, it's
question.
also, you could also say it's not versus. That's the other
Yeah,
thing, is that it's just two opinions
it's just two
existing.
opinions,
You
exactly.
know, there is no combativeness here. It's just you think that in your dumb head, and I think this in my dumb head. Like we're just these little. grains of goo that
Yeah.
have existed for. I'm 36. You
27.
22. Well, you look good, my friend.
Thank you. You too.
But yeah, it's. I think you're hitting it on the head of just like it would do so much more for people to be humbled a bit. Like we do. Like
Yeah,
everybody, like you need to be. I think there's a lot of people in the world that have just had it too cushy and never been properly humbled, and that they just have this idea like their shit don't stink. And I say this: if you meet me and talk to me, I probably come across as someone who thinks his shit don't stink. Just because I speak confidently because it's fun. You
yeah.
know, I struggle with this a lot, where it's like everyone is like, you always seem at ease or comfortable. Man, I'm a duck on water all the time. I'm always anxious. I'm always like thinking about every single thing. I'm aware of everyone in the room, like all of these things. Um, but no, being humbled, being seen, like I'm in a country that sees like my heritage, my country, as a bunch of dumb idiots who just elected Donald Trump as their president. Like I have to enter every meeting with a person
Yeah.
with that context around me. And then I have to filter through their like whether they realize it or not. Like there's a lot of things that there's just there that you have to like filter through and work through. I haven't done it gracefully. I get quite a like I'll play into it if I feel people start to go that route. Like if you want to see me as a dumb American, I'll be a dumb American and I'll I'll be annoying. That's that is one of my biggest downfalls is that if you ever try to put me in a box, I'm so stubborn. I'll go so hard in that box.
No
I will go
way.
so hard into that box just to say fuck you. Like it's a weird, I don't know. It's a weird thing that I do sometimes, but yeah, I can't imagine because I know we spoke about like you came to Manchester, right? Where like you were like
Yes.
you didn't fully speak English,
Yeah.
and so that in and of itself, I can't imagine being someone who was like I can walk in the room and feel that I'm the smartest person to then going to a place where like I walk into the room and I can't understand the basic words being said, and just the humbling like in Uruguay they don't speak much English, so a lot of my experience there, like I'm a talker, I like talking, connecting with people, completely taken away from me, and I was instantly just humbled. Like I was instantly just like I felt maybe even a little more present in conversations of things of just like trying. I felt like my body language changed when I talked to people, and like I felt more apologetic around things, and yeah. I can only imagine. Actually, I was only there for 4 days. I can imagine being you, where you're like, "I live here now," and then having to figure it out. And so, kudos on making it.
Thank you. I think
Yeah.
that's why I invite people over on the podcast because I want them to congratulate me
Yeah.
on.
You need it, man. Like when I hang out, like this guy needs more people telling him how great he is, and so
Thank you.
I think that's why we all come. It's our good deed for the year, so Santa will bring us our treats.
Well, yeah, there you go. That's the thing. You're gonna have a very happy Christmas now.
I hope so, man. God, I've been
And our
so
special
good.
guest Santa Claus
Yeah.
is just
Oh,
in it.
don't have Santa.
No, man, but yeah. So the thing that I was actually again, I was going to ask you as well. Like, what was it like for your this transition of like how did you feel when you had to make? But I feel like you kind of like halfway answered the question already.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, cool. Like this is not great. Again, you're like 12 years old, and you've got you've got issues like with your mom. You're living with your grandparents, and then you found God, and you're kind of like, I got the answers. I
Yeah.
now I know everything, and now so you've changed from, oh, what's happening, to I know it, and then you're living that life where you know everything, and now it's a change again where you're like
Mhm.
questioning it
Yeah.
again. So yeah, how did that?
So I mean, I had a very atypical experience with religion. Like most, like you said, you grew up. There's a lot of judgment. There was a lot of like a lot of people. I feel like came from that strict, like forceful experience. For me, the greatest people I've ever met in my life were through the church. Like I think it's a great place to find community. Uh, Good churches, obviously. There are a lot of judgmental and shitty churches out there, and people that are not what I would say following the way of Jesus as they should. And for those people, I hope they all burn in hell. But but no,
That's in your opinion.
yeah, exactly. It's my no. That's a word of truth, my friend. The eye of a needle, Jesus said. The way to hell is big and wide, but the actual path to heaven is through the eye of a needle. Therefore, not many will get there. Sorry, going
It's okay.
real.
We got our.
Everyone really think about your lives right now. You think you're going to heaven?
I was like, ooh, I
Yeah.
wonder.
So yeah, like it's so because most people expect to hear like there was an issue or a thing that happened or this thing. And for me, it was just kind of a slow decline because I worked for churches. Like when I lived in Brooklyn for 8 years. I worked for a church for probably 5 of those years, and I fell out of my faith while working for the church. Like I had a job before that. Like my original plan in life was to be a youth pastor, and like I had a job fall in my lap through a very crazy situation of like supposed to be an internship, and right before the internship, their youth leader died in a house fire, and so then the church was like, "Well, do you want the job?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I from working on the other side of the fence of religion, like that was the worst experience of it. But like the communities of that, like there's still people that like I keep up with to this day, all over the world because of Christ, because of religion and things. Um, but yeah, I was living in Brooklyn, and I felt like it was funny. It was majorly influenced by there's a church here in London. It's called HTB, Holy Trinity Brompton. They do. You ever see like the alpha signs? If you're ever out, it's like these big red signs, and it's like alpha, and it's like they talk about the meaning of life and these things.
Right.
And it's a really cool thing. Like if you're gonna evangelize anything, this is the way you should do it. Which is like, come have a meal, ask anything, bring up anything thoughts you want to have, and we'll just get dirty with it. Like we'll get in the nitty gritty, we'll be honest about things, we'll apologize for things, we'll like talk about things that need to be talked. Like it's not just this do this or you'll burn in hell.
Yeah.
And so like beautiful thing, and like I'm not shitting on HTB or anything, but they kind of started going in this new wave in how the Holy Spirit, I think, was manifesting itself or like revealing itself in today's church, that I just was like not getting on with. Like it started feeling very commercialized. It started feeling very kitschy. It also, there were these adverts back when I was growing up in the States that would come on, like those middle of the night like wild adverts. This one was for this Jamaican lady, Miss Cleo. And she would be like, "Call me now to get your reading," and like it was like all about getting like your fortune told by calling this 1-800 number. And I felt the church felt like it was going in this direction where they would be in the service,
Right.
and towards the end they would be like, "I feel like someone here just has been struggling with their right thumb. Like God's put it on my heart that like your right thumb is bothering you. I just want you to know like God hears you. Like he's there in that pain with you." And it went from like that in front to people just approaching you. I was at a service one night, didn't want to be there. I had a busy day, and like I was supposed to set up the hospitality for it. The catering didn't show up, so I had to run out and get a ton of food for like 400 people. And I was getting it set up. I was exhausted. I just stood in the back, like arms crossed, just like I got to be here, so I'm going to be here type thing. And this guy comes up to me who I don't know and just goes, "Hey, man, I just feel like I'm getting like throat cancer. Like, is there someone like your brother in Wyoming has throat cancer?" And I looked at him like, how fucking stupid are you, man? That you didn't take in my body language. You didn't take me in at all. You walked up and said throat cancer and brother. And I went, "No, that's not it." And he went, "Oh, okay, man." And walked off. And then I was fuming. I was just like, are we fucking like, is this a joke? And he comes back and he's like, "Sorry, was it Jake?" And I was like, "No, you didn't ask my name. You just started talking about cancer." And he was like, "Sorry, is it something in the chest or something?" And I went, "Walk away. Just walk away right now, because obviously what you want, you're not going to get." And he walked away, and then I was just like, "Yeah, this ain't what I want to be a part of." Like I don't. And the thing was, I was someone I had hard faith. Like I was someone who at one point I was like, God wants me to give my car away. I still owed $14,000 on my car, and I just saw a guy on Facebook that I knew said he needed a car, and I knew he was a guy that didn't have much. Called him up and said, "I got a car for you." He drove over. I handed him the title to the car, and the keys. Said, "There you go." And then it was like I had faith like that was like, yeah, God can heal stuff. Like I neglected medication for my depression for most of my life because I was like, why can't God just handle depression? Like I was like that type of belief, like water to wine, the lame can walk. But this was not that. This was just some weird like ego fulfilling bullshit that I was like, this is not the Holy Spirit. This is you guys wanting to feel cool about yourselves or something and manipulate people who are in pain. And so I was like pulling out of that. And there was a podcast by this guy called Pete Holmes. He's a stand up comedian. He kind of had a religious upbringing and stuff. And like, uh, found his way into like more of a new age. He's like he likes to say he still likes the flavor of Jesus,
Right.
like the of all like he believes in like a higher consciousness and all of this stuff, but he likes the flavor version of Jesus. Whereas there's the Buddhist flavor and the Hindu and the Muslim, like he chooses the Jesus one. But he said a phrase of like an all knowing being has to be an all forgiving being. So one of the biggest bases for forgiveness is that you understand why the person did what they did. You're like you can get that, and if you can understand that, then it makes it so much easier to forgive them and go, I get it, I empathize, I know. Which undercuts the majority of the New Testament story, which is Jesus came to die for your sins, and if you want relationship with God, you have to believe this. And if you don't believe this, you don't get relationship with God. And it's a very particular belief that happened at a very particular time in the history of all of mankind to say that like if you don't believe this one thing when you die, you can't have relationship with this being. I'm like, but he's an all-knowing being. He would understand why these billions of people didn't believe that. They never heard it. They didn't understand it. Maybe they were raised in a terrible home where they had very bad experiences around it. And then for that being who's supposed to be all loving to look at this created being that the being created and go burn or go be separate from me because you didn't have the mental brainwaves like capable enough to understand. And I just completely crumbled the whole, like deconstructed the whole thing from the Adam and Eve story through the rest. I like changed the way I looked at Adam and Eve. Like the whole point was God created this paradise, man rejected the paradise. There was one rule: don't eat the apple.
Yeah.
Essentially, he put toddlers in a room with a knife. And one of the toddlers took the knife and stabbed the other one. And God went, "Why'd you do that?" And it's like, bro, you put them in the room with the knife. All right. And then people get into the whole free will of it all. And I'm like, you know how there's a heaven right now where God exists, where there's no pain, no suffering, no sorrow? Do you think there's free will there? And if there is, why not just create that now? Why go through this whole rigmarole? So then I look at the Bible through the filter. Now, God put them in the room with the knife. He created the separation. And the whole Old Testament is God trying to be like, hey, I want you back. But you got to do these very specific things to get back. And then him getting to a point of going, well, you guys can't do that. So I'll come as Jesus to try and fix it. And it's like, what? Fix the problem you created? And then it's like, all right, I fixed it. Now you need to believe that I fixed it. It's like, I have to believe that you fixed the problem that you created. And then I get to be with you. Why do I want to be with you? Like, it was just like the whole thing just crumbled for me. And it wasn't like there was no malice. I was just like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. And so I still believe in a lot of like the main tenets, like treat others how you want to be treated, like love, like patience, kindness, like all of these things are like absolutes in life. I can't look at the world and say that this was all by chance. Like I would never look at anything that's complex in any way and just go, well, I just appeared out of nowhere. So I wouldn't look at us as that way. I just don't know how we relate to that being, if there is a being or a consciousness. Um, so yeah, in the end of it, I've just come to the conclusion I don't know. And hopefully, if there is a being that is as loving and caring as it is, it will understand why I don't know, and it will be fine with that because I'm a finite little peon in an infinite galaxy of other peons in time. Um, and it's fine. It's nice. There's like
Yeah.
a peace in that, you know? And that's how we end it on that beautiful.
Wow.
No.
That was really wow. That was just beautiful to listen to, but also I feel like it was such a change of tone from the beginning,
Yeah.
which is quite nice. And I feel like we've got, I think we've got time for maybe like one or two more questions or things to talk about. But now I'll just like ask you a bit about like, because again, that sounds, that just sounds like a very, again, a very humbling experience, where you're kind of like, hey, yeah, not for me, and
Yeah.
like, so I feel like to a respect, everything has to be like dramatic in some way. We're like,
Yeah. I
no.
mean, I say this in you guys are getting this version of the story. I have countless friends in Brooklyn who I know have had to hear me just fucking drone on about this stuff and
Mm,
talk about this stuff, and their patience, their kind, like what most people think of Christians, like I would have been shunned, kicked away from the community, like, and they've sat with me for hours talking these things through, and like not pushing their agendas
yeah,
or their opinions. Like they disagreed. They would be like, "Yeah, I just don't see it that way." Um, and they were beautiful in it. And like for those people, like I can't like thank them enough for like how gracious they were. Cause God, I'm a prick. I'm a big prick, man. I can just be so annoying. I can be so like stubborn and like bullheaded when I get my horns into something. But yeah, I'm very grateful for like the reality of that process was surrounded by lots of conversations beyond that, like lots of like moments that I did piss off friends and I did frustrate them, but it was like those were friends that had I've created family with,
mm,
to where it was one of the first times in my life that I felt safe, that I could just be accepted even if I wasn't doing what they wanted me to do, which is so foreign to me because that's how I earned my identity as a kid, was
yeah,
being useful and doing what people wanted. And now this was the first time in my life where I was doing the opposite and people weren't running from me. Like they weren't kicking me away. They were still inviting me over. They were still in my life. So like I got to have like that beautiful moment while going through all of this. The experience at the time did not feel like that. Like that's the fun thing about the hindsight of everything, is that I can look back and be like, wow, I was loved so well by just amazing people. Um, but God, at the time, I'm so sorry to each and every one of you. If you do hear this, I am sorry that you had to sit with me, because man, I can be so annoying.
it's funny, this is the thing. You said that so many, quite a few times during the recording, where you're like, hey, I think I'm like, I think you were like, oh, I'm annoying, or like I have like, I'm being
It's
silly,
because you're
stupid,
getting
etc.
36-year-old Nick. Like if I would have taken you back to 28-year-old Nick or to 23-year-old Nick, like I promise you, it's funny. It's how like there's still versions of that.
Mm.
So that's where that's coming from. Because I mean, I cut you off because I felt like you were about to say I don't get any of that from
Yeah, yeah,
Christianity.
that's what I
Yeah,
was gonna say. Also,
yeah,
if anything, I feel like you went too much on, like, again, the self awareness and the humbling that's like
yeah,
some people lack of, where you
yeah,
kind of like, you're going to another extent. But yeah, again, I get it. I feel like it's I'd say it's I have a similar version of it, but like,
yeah,
because I also feel like sometimes I speak to people, and then like, even the thing that you said, like with the face at the beginning, and I get this as well. But like, people are like, hey, how are you, like, you seem, like a really like down to earth person, everything.
yeah,
Like, again, you're speaking with the 27 7 years old version of
yeah,
me. But the thing is that even if you were to speak to me like 2 years ago, especially if you were to speak to me 10 years ago, it was nothing like this.
yeah,
You'd probably, and that's why, like, sometimes I get to the point where, although I'm still like upset for some people, I guess, abandoning me,
yeah.
I feel like, in a weird way, I'm like, I would have abandoned myself if I were, in that, because I.
All right, sounds like we're getting past the pleasantries, bro. I've been struggling to sit here this long with you. This guy is unbearable. But no, but we're also talking about two versions of things. Though.
Yeah.
We are talking about the you when you're with people that you know and that like you're not afraid to get into it with, and then the you that meets new people, the you that is in public more, that like is interacting with different people, and like there isn't that already shared like understanding of who you are. Um I will always come across to any group that I meet as like kind of like this guy. But then there are people that know me who we've wrestled. Like we get into it and they deal with the this version of me that I'm talking about because we all have that in us. Like
True.
the people that aren't able to do that and that like do just go out in public and like they're just kind of like the annoying assholey people. I'm kind of like, bro, your life was too easy. Like you need to have to struggle with this a little bit more just so that we can tolerate you. Um, but no, like it's so yeah. Thank you for the compliment. But I get that. I do get that. Like when I do talk to people about this, when I tell them about like the childhood and stuff, I always get the same like, "Wow, you just seem so grounded." And da da da. I'm like, "Yeah, because you're not in bed with me right now in the middle of the night when I'm fucking tearing myself apart. Like I'm not gonna bring this
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Like you don't understand like how this works. Like my identity comes from me being tolerable with people, so they'll accept me and I can exist with them." But you go home with me and then you get like when I have to relax. And to be fair, nowadays it's much better than it was. But my past relationships will attest that I have a very, very, very heavy depression. That was very terrible. That was undiagnosed and unmedicated for a long, long time. And it was just me hoping God would take it away, which manifest or actually revealed itself as me just tearing the shit out of myself. Like I describe it to people like when I would be in bed at night, and if I'm with a partner and I'm talking about how I'm shit and why they shouldn't be with me, it would feel like almost like I've swallowed this pill and I feel it like a lightness go down my chest and then it explodes in my stomach. It's almost like getting high and I get a numbness through my body. And the way I intensify that numbness is by saying more shit things about myself. And it was like weirdly that like when I said I struggle with like addiction and stuff like that, I don't smoke. I can smoke a cigarette. Like in the pandemic, I smoked a vape constantly every day for 3 months, and then I'm done. Threw it in the trash. Don't need it again. Like I have that ability that I won't. I don't have to worry about. Oh, if I drink, I won't stop. My issue like is like I want comfort. And I'm addicted to comfort now because I went through so much or I can see myself if I wanted to let that go, I see it so clearly. The line is there. It's like so much so tangibly touched like for me, but I go I'm not. But this was my way of getting high. I would lay in bed at night and just every next thing I could think of that would just light that ball of like numbness in my stomach would just fill my body with like a good feeling. It sucked. I'm weeping, I'm crying, snot bubble, like all of that stuff, like night after night. And then I do it until I literally pass out from exhaustion.
Wow.
And then you feel better in the morning or something because you slept or whatever. I used to live off the mantra that, like, the darkness, this is a scripture, darkness comes in the night, but there's joy in the morning. And that got me through so many nights because I was like, yeah, this is the darkness. And then tomorrow I'll feel better. I have journals of just me just tearing through stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's the deep, dark depression. But I'm not going to do that here in front of you. Like, I'm not going to sit on this couch and give you that. This podcast doesn't get that. All right. I got to get paid money if you want to see that. And so, so as we said, Amazon.com /BPD. But yeah, no. So I appreciate it. But for those listening, also know I do it too. I present well, but the darkness resides within. Since then, I've gotten on medication. I've went through a really darker like tunnel, like terrible things came out of that like medication. I've changed the medication again. Like I've been through that process, and so I'm so sensitive to this being speaking of because I speak about a lot of heavy things nonchalantly, but like there is weight to underneath all of this stuff as well. I don't want to bypass on that for anyone like that is going through it or like experiencing this and feeling like, oh, well, I feel all those heavy things, but I don't feel the ability to go out and do that and like just present like I need to present. But I'm like, that's fine. This is just how my identity was shaped. And I'm also American. And so we just have a brash confidence for existing. And so Yeah, I don't know why I felt the need to give that context to all of this, but
No, that's all good because I think like that's genuinely. Although there are some questions I want to ask you, but I'm conscious of time. However, that was a very beautiful way I think to end it
yeah,
because it addressed quite a few things beautifully. Thank you for being this what's it like I guess not sensible but like thank you for being like this honest, you know, and this like open, you know, to share this because like you said we covered some like heavy stuff and then we kind of like took like you took this turn where you're like, hey, look, like this is actually, you know, again this is how, or like this is the foundation of what you see,
yeah,
and that's beautiful. I genuinely I'm very grateful for that. I mean, I'm very grateful you taking the time to come and you do this all together. But I feel like this ending was wonderful. Now, you know, for anyone who wants to stay in touch with you or like check out your work, just for context, this is going to be released probably at the end of the year or the
yeah,
beginning of next. So if you have anything coming up at the beginning of the year, or again, just like where you're most actively or active on like social media, so
social.
social media, let us know.
I'll just give you my phone number, man. You guys can call me. We'll hang out. No. Yeah. I mean, I do have a social. It's. I mean, I don't know how I got it, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but I'm like, I'm Nick the comedian. So just Nick the comedian. I
Very
got that
nice.
on Instagram somehow. Follow me on there. I do run a comedy night in West Norwood for anybody that's in the UK. We do it once a month at the moment, but in the new year we're gonna look at moving to 2 times a month just because it's going well. And then yeah, other than that, it'll just be I gig around London. I do stand up, I do improv, I do clown shows here and there. You'll probably see me uh, if you want to see a brief like still of me running. I'm in the series finale of The Diplomat season 2 on Netflix.
No way.
So literally the last scene of the series, you'll see me run out of a house leading a group of other CIA people or Secret Service people. And then if you tune in for series 3 when it comes out, you're gonna see me running more. And so if you want to see that and laugh with me as I did a lot of shooting for maybe half a second of screen time, but you can do that. Um, and I think that's it. Yeah. Oh, the comedy show is called Nine Lives. It's in West Norwood. Nine Lives Comedy. You can look it up.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nick.
Yeah. Thanks.
Was good, right? That was pretty good, if I say so. And look, I hope you enjoyed listening as much as I enjoyed recording. And yeah, Nick told you Nine Lives Comedy. Well, I'll be doing that in February. And you know what? I think that's enough for this week. And I'll hope to bring you some more good news or better news, you know, in the field of job research and all that next week. And then until then, yeah, I've got a busy week ahead. A couple of gigs, a couple of interviews, couple of you know doctor appointments as well. And I think from me, Pickle, and Sarma, that's enough for now. Stay skillful. Goodbye. Talk to you next week.